Hi, this is Drew Tignanelli. This is our June update, and it looks like Mike and I are not social distancing, but we really are about 10 feet apart right now. Just a video effect.
An optical illusion.
Optical delusion. Anyway, this is our June update. Markets have rebounded from their downturn, and I mean, that's a good thing, and it shows that the support of the federal government and the central bank has put some reassurance back in the market. You know, there's a great article today in the Wall Street Journal about how on March 16th, the world financial system was really teetering as everyone was rushing in to try to figure out how to get cash out of the market.
Right.
And, but that's what you expect from a central bank. When you have people that are in a panic for cash, central bank steps in and gives them cash. And it's been going on since the beginning of mankind. In 1907, study the history of the great financial panic of 1907, before there was a central bank. And everybody was rushing in to get their cash out of stocks and other investments and so forth. And it looked like the system was looking over a cliff. And who stepped in?
J.P. Morgan.
J.P. Morgan.
Locked them in the room, literally.
And he had the money himself to give everybody what they needed and stop the panic.
Well, he made him and all of his wealthy buddies say, we're going to cover this.
Yeah.
And they said no, and he said, lock the doors, nobody's getting out. Then they all smoked cigars, and apparently by the end of the meeting, no one could breathe, and they agreed.
But anyway, that's what's part of the story as to how the central bank came about in 1913, is that they would be the lender of last resort. And when they don't do that, it can be really scary. But when they do it, things can really improve dramatically. So anyway, it's a good lesson in markets and so forth.
Right. We just have to watch to see if the stimulus they've done so far carries, or if they need to do more, or whether or not they can get it done.
Yeah, and then what are individuals going to do? Are individuals going to get back out? I mean, me personally, I'm not being foolish in any way, shape, or form, but I'm going to go to restaurants if they're open. I'm going to go to a sporting event if I want to. I didn't go to sporting events.
I go to sporting events before. You're not going to go now.
I go fishing where it's just me and a few people I want to be with. Anyway, or play golf.
Drew, we had a few items that were inspired, and I'm sure some of our audience members, our clients listening here, know sometimes we get our inspirations from you as to what maybe other clients may also have a similar question. And one of the things that has come up on a number of times, and you were just talking about this earlier, is that client goes on to either Schwab or our website, or they look at a report and they see a big difference or a big change, and they immediately jump to thinking that they lost all this money, but it may not be that.
Yeah, matter of fact, it's typically not that. So, just not too long ago, I was talking to them, and just out of the blue, they said, with everything down as much as it is, and I'm thinking, you can't be down more than 3%, and that's about, whatever. And but it was pretty obvious that she felt that there was a big downturn. And I said, how much do you think it's? And she told me, and I said, well, there's no way. And so I went and looked at her accounts, and she said, oh, well, that one account, I don't have it listed. Mm-hmm. And it was $100,000.
Yeah.
And so
that was meat material in that case.
And I made her day when I explained to her that there's just an account that wasn't being householded. That's a typical one. Schwab has a householding thing. You figure they would just do it by Social Security number, but...
Well, right now, our team is trying to work out why my wife and I's IRAs are under two different profiles. So even for me, it's happening.
Yeah, so, Schwab householding, but then you also have our website. You can go onto our website and you can look at it, and it could give you a number. But if you're not paying attention, if you've got 3 accounts, let's say, you could be just looking at one of those 3 accounts.
There's a drop down, and if you have one account selected, it's only showing you the information for that one account. The other thing that's very common for us is some of our clients, they have legacy positions, or they have a couple stocks they like to trade on their own, and that top left-hand box says managed value.
Right.
And that's just the value of the assets that we're trading for you. It's not going to include, in some cases, those supervised assets or those assets you trade yourself.
Here's the point. It's pretty simple, and that is, if you ever feel your account is down a lot, please,
Or just something's different.
or something looks different and you just don't understand and it concerns you, even if there is a big drop in the market, please call your relationship manager so we can explain what it actually is so that we understand and everyone knows for sure what it is. Is
Yeah.
it the market's really down that bad? Or is it that you're looking at something and you're not seeing the whole picture and so forth?
For a lot of our clients, just because I know this one comes up a lot, they have Roth accounts, and Roth money tends to be money we intend will touch the last, so we invest it the most aggressively. So they may have a tiny little Roth account that's 100% equities, while most of their portfolio is balanced, but they have that equity account selected as as what's populating the data up top. And it shows that account's down some higher percentage,
Right.
and they're like, oh, I didn't think that could happen. Well, when you switch it back to look at everything, and it takes in all of your bonds and your fixed income, all of a sudden it looks
Yeah, so, and if you want a tutorial on how to work on our accounts, we can do that too. So we wanted to talk about another one. We've gotten a lot of calls and emails about the Form 5498. Many people are getting it in the last week or two. Form 5498 is an information form only. Okay, so here it is. The IRS insists that every custodian of an IRA or a Roth send them this 5498. And because Schwab has to send it to the IRS, the law says you also have to send it to the account holder so that they know what Schwab has told the IRS. So that's what the 5498 is for. But the purpose of the form is for the IRS. They take the information from Schwab that says you contributed this, you did a rollover of this, you did a conversion, you have this much money in the account, etc. And the IRS then puts that in their computer database and says, wait a minute, you weren't allowed to do a contribution to a Roth because your AGI is X and you couldn't have done it. So how'd you do it? And then they send you a letter. And
Right.
that's the beauty of the IRS when it works.
But that 5498 can come anytime during the year. It doesn't always come in May.
Schwab's pretty good at sending it in May, but
Yeah.
if you have Fidelity or TD Ameritrade, they have different times of the year
Sure.
that they send it. So, but the point of the matter is the Form 5498 is nothing more than an informational form. It does not affect your income tax. It's good to look at. It's good to review. And we get copies of it, so we don't need it if we want to look at them. But if you ever see something on there that you don't agree with, then you want to contact us about the 5498.
So while we're shooting this video, we are headed towards the end of May, but it's probably still going to be a week and a half or so before this video comes out. And we want to talk about what the Financial Consulate is doing in light of the current situation, how our offices are operating. But I want to first say that a week and a half from now, when it comes to stuff like how will we be handling the current government regulations and the current situation, a week and a half, it seems like forever to be able to predict. But we have begun to discuss and put in policies. As many of you know, our teams have been working remotely for the past few months, like many other people. But as the advice in Maryland and the CDC changes, we are hoping and expecting on June 1st we'll begin to have some of our employees in our offices again. We're still not going to be hosting in-person long client meetings in our office yet. We'll be continuously looking at both CDC guidelines, state of Maryland guidelines, as well as our peers. I, as one, am constantly communicating with other firms to figure out how do we navigate this the best.
You have to remember we got Johnny O to worry about too.
Well, he's, at least as this current shooting of this video, Johnny O has stood down. But who knows if he'll...
Johnny O is the executive of Baltimore County where
Right.
our offices are located, and it seems like if you're a politician, you want to say in this,
Yeah.
I think it's a power grab in many
Yeah,
ways.
they can say they shut down an economy. that, and that's going to go on their gravestones.
Yeah.
But and we also have our offices in Pennsylvania, and at the moment the Pennsylvania rules are significantly different than Maryland's rules. So we're going to be constantly adjusting to this, but we are greatly appreciative of our clients understanding and working with us on the Zoom meetings. We have done everything we can, sending out UPS envelopes, trying to make it as easy as we can on you. We will communicate as things change, as we're able to start having folks back in the office for meetings. At the moment, we're still allowing folks to schedule to drop things off, or if we have an emergency item that has to be signed briefly. But we're trying to keep the public traffic in and out of the office as low as possible, so those who do come to the office can feel as safe as possible.
Yep. Well, I think we've wrapped up everything that we can. And I will say a quote from Vice President Pence: "Today is another day, one day closer to the end of this pandemic," or, this craziness, pandemic, whatever you want to call it,
I'm ready to go to the restaurant.
Anyway, this is Drew Tignanelli saying God bless.